You knew exactly what you were doing. And now
The spoon slipped from Zara Bello's trembling fingers and clattered loudly against the tiled cafe floor. Heads turned instantly. A second later, the laughter came. Hot chocolate spilled across her dress, dripping slowly, like everyone had time to watch it happen. But no one moved to help. Instead, a man standing beside her table smirked, wiping his hands like he had just done something clever. "Maybe," Femi Ajayi said loudly, his voice cutting through the room. "It's time you stopped eating in public." A few people chuckled. Others whispered. Phones tilted slightly, recording. Zara froze. Her chest tightened, her throat closing, as if even breathing would draw more attention. She could feel the weight of every stare, every silent judgment pressing down on her. Her fingers curled against the edge of the table, but she didn't move. Couldn't move. Across the cafe, someone stood. The shift was subtle, but it carried weight. Adrian Cole didn't raise his voice, yet when he spoke, the entire room seemed to quiet. "Apologize." Femi turned, surprised, then laughed. "Or what?" Adrian stepped closer, calm, controlled, his gaze steady. "Or you'll learn that embarrassment feels very different when it's yours." The confidence in his tone drained the humor from Femi's face. For a moment, no one spoke. Even the staff hesitated, unsure who to side with. Zara barely registered what was happening until Adrian reached down and picked up a napkin, offering it to her. "Are you okay?" No one had asked her that all day. Maybe not even that week. She nodded quickly, though her eyes burned with unshed tears. Adrian pulled out a chair and sat across from her as if nothing unusual had happened. "You shouldn't let people like that define your day." Zara let out a shaky breath. "I'm used to it." "That doesn't make it right." There was no pity in his voice, just certainty. And somehow, that felt different. Zara had always been used to being seen, but never in the way she wanted. From childhood, she and Nadia Okoye had been inseparable, where Zara was quiet, soft-spoken, and often overlooked except for cruel remarks. Nadia was everything the world seemed to celebrate. Beautiful, confident, effortlessly admired. But Nadia had never treated Zara like she was less. She had stood beside her during schoolyard teasing, silenced mocking classmates with sharp words, and once even walked out of a party because someone made a joke at Zara's expense. "We leave together," Nadia had said, grabbing her hand firmly. "Always." And Zara believed her. Even now, years later, that belief hadn't fully faded. Later that evening, Zara sat on her bed, replaying the cafe incident over and over again. The laughter, the humiliation. And then, Adrian. She didn't understand why someone like him would even notice her, let alone step in like that. Men like him belonged to a different world, a world where people didn't look at you twice unless you were perfect. Her phone buzzed. A message from Nadia. "Hey, are you okay? I heard something happened." Zara hesitated before replying. "I'm fine." The three dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "I'm coming over." Zara sighed softly but smiled. That was Nadia, always showing up. The next few days felt different. Not because the world had suddenly become kinder, it hadn't, but because something had shifted inside Zara. She found herself thinking about Adrian more than she expected. And then, unexpectedly, she saw him again, at a bookstore. She had been browsing quietly when his voice came from behind her. "You seem to have a habit of disappearing after dramatic moments." She turned, startled. "You remember me?" He raised an eyebrow slightly. "You're not easy to forget." That caught her off guard. They talked, briefly at first, then longer. No pressure, no awkward expectations, just conversation. And for once, Zara didn't feel like she was being judged. What started as chance meetings became intentional ones. Coffee turned into dinners, conversations turned into laughter. And slowly Zara began to change. Not because Adrian asked her to, but because, for the first time, she wanted to. She started taking care of herself, not out of shame, but out of self-respect. She walked more, read more, spoke up more. She noticed it in small ways. The way she held eye contact longer, the way her voice stopped shaking, the way she no longer shrank when someone looked at her. Nadia noticed too. At first, she was happy, genuinely. She smiled when Zara talked about her day. She listened when Adrian's name came up, but something unfamiliar began to creep in. A quiet, uncomfortable feeling she couldn't name. One evening, as they sat together, Zara laughed at something on her phone. "What is it?" Nadia asked. "Adrian," Zara said, smiling. "He just said I argue like a lawyer." Nadia forced a small laugh. "Since when do you argue?" Zara shrugged playfully. "Since I realized I'm allowed to." Something about that answer lingered. Allowed. Nadia had always been the one who felt chosen, the one people noticed, the one people wanted. So why did it feel like the spotlight had quietly shifted? It didn't happen all at once. Jealousy rarely does. It started with small thoughts. Why her? Then comparisons. I'm prettier. Then doubt. What does he see in her? And finally, resentment. Nadia stood in front of her mirror one night, staring at her reflection. Perfect. That's what everyone always said. So why didn't it feel like enough? Her phone buzzed. A message from Zara. "Hey, are you free tomorrow? Adrian invited us to an event." Us. Nadia stared at the word longer than she should have. She typed back slowly. "Maybe. I'll see." But her mind was already racing. The event was elegant. Everything Nadia was used to. Except this time, something was different. People greeted Zara, smiled at her, listened to her, and Adrian stayed close to her side. Not in a showy way, but in a way that felt intentional. Chosen. Nadia watched from a distance, her chest tightening. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Later that night, she found Adrian alone. "Can I ask you something?" she said, her voice calm but firm. He nodded. "Why her?" He didn't look confused, as if he had been expecting the question. "Because she's real." Nadia blinked. "And I'm not?" He met her gaze steadily. "You're used to being admired. She's used to being overlooked. That changes how people love." The words hit harder than she expected. "I could be what you want," she said quietly. Adrian shook his head. "I don't want someone to become something for me. I want someone who already knows who they are." Nadia swallowed, her composure cracking just slightly. For the first time in a long time, she felt rejected, and it didn't just hurt, it shattered something inside her. That night, Nadia didn't answer Zara's messages. The next day, she ignored her calls, and slowly, she began to disappear, not just from Zara, but from herself. Days turned into weeks. Nadia stayed indoors more. She avoided mirrors, avoided people, avoided anything that reminded her of who she used to be. She ate not because she was hungry, but because it filled the silence, and the more she withdrew, the more everything else slipped away. Meanwhile, Zara kept growing. Not perfectly, not easily, but steadily. She still had moments of doubt, still remembered the laughter, but those memories no longer controlled her, because now she had something stronger, self-worth. But even with everything changing, there was one thing Zara couldn't ignore. Nadia was gone, and no matter how much her life improved, that absence hurt more than anything else. Zara stood outside Nadia's apartment for a long moment, her hand hovering near the door before she finally knocked. No response. She knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. A quiet worry settled deep in her chest. She pulled out her phone and dialed. It rang, and then went silent. Zara exhaled slowly, resting her forehead against the door. "Nadia, please." Inside, Nadia sat on the floor, back against the wall, staring blankly at her phone as it lit up with Zara's name. She didn't move, didn't answer, because she didn't know how to face her anymore. Not like this. Not when everything inside her felt broken. Weeks passed. Zara stopped knocking, but she didn't stop caring. She sent messages, short ones. Thinking of you. I'm here when you're ready. I miss you. Most of them went unanswered, but she kept sending them anyway. Nadia's world had become smaller, quieter. The mirror she once admired now felt like an enemy. The confidence she once carried had been replaced by something heavy and unfamiliar. Regret. She replayed everything in her head. Every moment she smiled, while secretly comparing. Every thought she tried to ignore. Every second she let jealousy grow, instead of choosing love. I did this, she whispered to herself one night. No one else had taken anything from her. She had let it slip through her own hands. One morning, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. No sudden realization, just exhaustion. She was tired of hiding, tired of feeling like she had lost herself completely. So she stood up, walked to the mirror, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't look away. I don't like who I become, she said quietly, but I can change that. The change was slow. Nadia started going out again, short walks at first. She picked up small habits she had abandoned. She stopped chasing attention and started rebuilding herself in silence. No audience, no validation, just effort. Some days she failed, some days she cried, but she kept going, because for the first time she wasn't doing it to be seen. She was doing it to feel whole again. Months later, Nadia stood outside a large gate, her heart pounding. Adrian's residence. She almost turned back, but something pushed her forward. Maybe closure, maybe courage, maybe both. The gate opened. Inside, everything looked as she remembered, elegant, calm, untouchable. But the moment she stepped into the living area, her breath caught. Zara stood there, confident, poised, radiating a quiet strength that didn't need attention to exist. She looked at peace. Zara turned, surprised. Nadia? For a second, neither of them moved. Then Nadia stepped forward slowly, her voice barely steady. I wasn't sure if I should come. Zara's expression softened. I'm glad you did. That simple response almost broke her. No anger, no bitterness, just warmth. Adrian entered moments later, his presence still calm, still composed. He looked between them, understanding more than either of them said out loud. Nadia took a breath. I owe you both an apology. Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. I let something ugly grow inside me. I compared, I envied, and I pushed away the one person who never left my side. Zara's eyes glistened. I thought I was losing everything, Nadia continued. But the truth is, I lost myself first. Silence filled the room. Not heavy, just honest. Adrian spoke gently. Sometimes people only realize what matters when they are forced to face themselves. Nadia nodded. I understand that now. She turned to Zara, her voice softer. I don't expect things to go back to how they were. I just needed you to know I'm sorry. Zara stepped closer. For a moment, Nadia braced herself, but instead of distance, Zara pulled her into a hug, and just like that, the walls Nadia had built began to crumble. I missed you, Zara whispered. Nadia let out a shaky breath, holding onto her like she had once done years ago. I missed you too. A few days later, life continued. Not perfectly, but better. More honest. More real. One afternoon, as Nadia walked through a busy street, she heard it. Laughter. The kind she knew too well. Her steps slowed. Ahead of her, a small group of people surrounded a young woman, whispering, pointing, mocking quietly. The scene felt familiar, uncomfortably familiar, and suddenly she wasn't the observer anymore. She was the memory, frozen, exposed. vulnerable. Her chest tightened as one of them glanced at her and smirked. "Looks like we've got another one." The words hit. Hard. For a moment, Nadia couldn't move. Her old confidence didn't come back. Her voice didn't rise. She just stood there, just like Zara once had. Then a voice cut through the noise. "That's enough." The laughter stopped. Nadia turned. Zara, walking forward with calm certainty, not angry, not loud, just unshakable. She stepped between Nadia and the crowd. "If you have nothing kind to say, then don't say anything at all." Her tone wasn't aggressive, but it didn't leave room for argument. The group shifted uncomfortably. One by one, they backed off, until the street fell silent again. Nadia stared at her eyes filled with emotion. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. Zara smiled softly. "Yes, I did." Nadia's voice broke. "After everything, why would you still stand up for me?" Zara held her gaze. "Because you stood up for me when no one else did." The words landed deep. "You didn't stop being my friend," Zara continued. "You just got lost for a while." Tears slipped down Nadia's cheeks, and this time she didn't hide them. They stood there together, not as the people they used to be, but as the people they had grown into, stronger, wiser, more real. Some people walked past them without noticing. Some glanced briefly, but for once, it didn't matter, because the world no longer defined them, they defined themselves. If this story touched you in any way, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt overlooked or compared yourself to someone else? Let's talk about it below. Because sometimes the stories we watch are closer to our own lives than we think. And remember, people may notice beauty, but they never forget kindness.